Alrighty, here we go. We're going to try this yet again. What a monstrosity this has been. I'd like to welcome everybody to a new series that I'm doing. And I'm doing it only because I think it's a really important subject that is going past everybody's eyes. I think it runs so far underneath the radar, especially when you have much louder voices being far more offensive in attempting to point out a singular, damn the Irish type information. And I can say that I am Irish. That this kind of thing, something that is so base, something that is so, it ranks, I mean, air is as important, water is as important. There's probably not another need that is more important than this. And so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to switch this over here so that we can get a hint. What I am truly talking about is the agriculture industry, certainly here in the United States, but also worldwide. We don't hear about it really. We don't hear about what happens. We don't hear about much of anything because, quite frankly, most people don't understand it. It's just something that is difficult to comprehend. I know if you live in New York, if you live in Chicago, if you live in LA, if you live in Denver, if you live in Pueblo, if you live in, honestly, in a lot of ways, if you live in some, tar paper shack on the side of a hill, you don't know where not only does your food come from, but what all is involved. And so since I have experience in this, my family owns a Century Farm. We not only deal with cereals, we deal with beef. And so I thought perhaps I could have some insight, but hey, nobody wants to listen from me. I'm just a voice coming from that black box that you purchased, from the store. You don't know me. So I thought, well, who would I be able to find? I mean, how do I find somebody who's wanting to hit all of these highlights and lowlights? And then I discovered this young man. His name is Cole. He runs a YouTube channel. He's got 612,000 subscribers as of this moment. And I've seen him before on YouTube, and quite frankly, he's not my cup of tea. However, what he is willing to do is pull back the screen and I tell you what, let me have him explain it to you.
For the next 365 days, I am going to be filming what it takes to be a farmer, which is one of the hardest jobs in the world. My name is Cole the Corn Star, and I am a fifth-generation farmer from Iowa with over 200 years of combined farming experience bred into my DNA. I run the operations on my family's 2,000-acre corn and soybean farm. So if farming is so difficult, what am I doing making this video? Shouldn't I just be off on the farm working, actually getting something done? The answer is, I feel people do not understand what it takes for food to get onto their table. And I don't blame you. You walk into the store, you find what you need, you swipe your card, you come out to your vehicle, throw everything in, and you leave. It's not like there's signs in the grocery store that show the blood, sweat, tears, and thousands of hours of effort that went into producing their produce. So if you're not exposed to it, how are you supposed to know? That is why I'm making this video. That is why I made this YouTube channel, and that is why I have committed to making long-form content about farming almost every other day for the last 6 years.
Alrighty, so that was my reintroduction to this young man. I'm not going to go over every little thing he says. I encourage you instead to get way out in front. He has several videos ahead. Get way out in front and watch his videos on your own. I think it's important. I'm not going to watch and comment on every little thing that he says or does. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight some things that I think is really important, and then I'll release that for comment. But again, Cole the Corn Star, I'll leave a link in the description. And this is a kid that you're going to want to pay attention to if you truly want to understand not just where your food comes from, but that there's people, real people, just like you, whose lives are depending on this. And if you look at the title of his first video, he's projected to lose already before he's done one thing. His farm is projected to lose $500,000 that year, this year. This video is a couple weeks old. So that's that.
Before we dive into this series, I would like to make a statement. This series, it's a one of a kind. It is one of one, the only one that exists, and who knows, maybe it will be the only one that ever exists. Farmers are super secretive, and their farms are personal, rightfully so. Farmers don't share personal information. This is where the series being a one of one comes into play. I am going to be holding nothing back. From how many hours we work to how much money we make, I am going to be covering it all. I want the world to understand what it's like to be a farmer, so I'm willing to pull back the curtain and expose farming for what it really is. With that being said, this is how the series is going to go. Farming consists of 5 seasons. Season 1 is planting, Season 2 is crop management, Season 3 is harvest, Season 4 is selling the harvest, and Season 5 is preparation for next year.
Okay, now again, just in case, he says seasons, but it's all within a single calendar year. And I'm just making sure everybody can keep up. If we have any people who are new or who are thinking about farming, and I don't mean homesteading, I mean farming. I do not mean homesteading. Homesteading applies here, most certainly, but most homesteaders don't project themselves to lose 500 grand their first or any year. So, but what I'm talking about here is applicable, but it is not the same.
The next 365 days, I'm going to be video documenting every single farm interaction and decision that is made on my family's 2,000-acre corn and soybean operation. Every day, I will be adding up our expenses, our income, and how many hours we worked. At the end of the 365 days, we will have a full summary of the farm's expenses, income, profit, and hours worked. Due to the amount of privacy that I'm not keeping, in order to protect my family's farm from competing farms, I do have a couple stipulations. Number 1, I am not going to disclose how much of our crop inputs are financed with our own money. I will be assuming that 80% of our farming expenses will be financed through an operating line of credit at our local bank using an interest rate of 9%. Borrowing for 80% of our farming input expenses is not uncommon in the farming world, and that's typically going to be the threshold for a bank. Number 2, when it comes to land, we own some of it and we rent some of it. However, I'm going to be treating it all as rented ground, and we are going to be using an average rental price of $279 an acre, which is the average for the entire state of Iowa. Number 3 is we will be assuming a $20 per hour labor rate, which according to ZipRecruiter falls into the top 15% of farmhand earners, which my team is more than qualified to be in. And then number 4, I will only be including farm-related income. So income from selling corn, income from selling beans, or anything that we are doing around the farm if we sell a piece of equipment or something like that. But it will not include any off-farm income. Those are separate businesses. And then lastly, when it comes to tracking our daily income and expenses, I will be able to track our daily labor rates, but when it comes to everything else, I'm going to have to wait until the end of the month when our canceled checks come back from the bank, and then we will be able to add in all of our income, and we will be able to add in all of our expenses. There's going to be 5 of us running around, and everybody's getting things all the time, so it would be impossible to keep track of on a daily basis. So that will just be all added up at the end of each month. And now that I got those stipulations out of the way, let me introduce myself, my family, and our farm, and then we will get into the realities of farming and some of the challenges we are already facing going into this next year.
Alrighty. I guess that's how I'm going to end this one. This obviously, as you can see, there's a whole lot more to go. He goes into it. I just wanted to use this as an introduction. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you all next video.